At first, I saw him going to the tank and putting his hand up to it. I'm like, oh, because, he's in tune with the force and he can sense the life force of the eggs. Oh, that's very cute. And then it has him eat the egg, and I'm like, oh no, I misread that situation entirely. What's up, guys? It's your boy Vito here. How you doing? None of you guys like me anymore for some reason. Well, I know the reason, actually. The reason none of you like me anymore is because last week I put out a video. I said, you know what? The Mandalorian is boring me. I am bored by The Mandalorian. That was apparently a very polarizing opinion. As of right now, it's almost equal. It's actually surprising. Feels like the election all over again. It's about 1,000 likes and 1,000 dislikes. But of course, the comments are usually, if you're feeling negative, you're more likely to leave a comment than if you're feeling positive. So all the comments are telling me, Vito, you're an idiot. How could you be bored by that? They fought a dragon, Vito. There's nothing more exciting than fighting a dragon. Now, I empathize with you guys. I get it, especially some of you get more hardcore Star Wars guys out there, that this show to you, you're like, look, Star Wars is back on track. Will you shut up? Don't tell them this is bad, or they'll make it worse.
They fly now! They fly now? They fly now!
Okay, after the Star Wars sequel trilogy, this is fine. And for some of you, it's more than fun. For some of you, you're like, this is exactly what Star Wars should be. It's fast, fun action, space creatures, cowboys, guns, the lightsabers, whatever. Sure, I'm on board. That my criticism was that I found the episode, what it was tried to do with the plot, to be boring. I didn't find the Marshal interesting. I didn't find the conflict between the townspeople and the Tusken Raider to be interesting. And ultimately, I thought the fighting of the Krayt Dragon, I was like, didn't do a lot for me. But I do not think, and I did not say in that video, God forbid, don't take away the idea that I think The Mandalorian is unsavable. I don't think it is. I think it still could be a great show. It just keeps, the quality varies so wildly for me, which is why this second episode has been very interesting. Because, and I feel like I'm going to sound like a hypocrite, I liked this episode. Even though maybe I shouldn't, based on my previous comments where I said, what is this? It's just an episode. He goes, he meets somebody, he fixes a problem, they fight a monster. That was my problem with the first episode, and yet I like the second episode. So what is the difference? Well, let's go through the episode, and I'll talk about what worked for me here. In the second episode of The Mandalorian, The Passenger, I guess Chapter 10, we will call it, right off we start back on Tatooine, and I got a little worried. I was like, my God, are they really doing another Tatooine episode? Please, no. But no, luckily, that is not the whole episode. And it is interesting what they're doing, where each episode, there's no time between the last episode and this one. I'm wondering if this season is going to be one unbroken change, just a week in the life of the Mandalorian, one day to the next. That could be interesting. I'm interested to see if that's going to be an ongoing theme. Now, what I like about this episode is that one of the things I complained about in the previous episode is I don't know what to do with this Yoda baby. Okay, in the previous episode, it did nothing. It contributed nothing to the plot. It played no part in the events of the plot. It was just there to give reaction shots. Here we revisit some of the ways you can write this baby into the show, and here it works. One of the most obvious ways that the baby can be utilized is that the Mandalorian has something to protect. And here we see in the opening shot that he gets knocked off his speeder. And I liked this little action scene. I like this dirty feeling Star Wars, this low-tech universe where even though we have these fantastic technology, we have spaceships, we have speeder bikes, we have lightsabers, you can still just use a rope to knock a guy off his bike and steal all his stuff. That's very interesting to me. I like that. So we see here one of the ways you can use the baby, and it's used very well, is that the baby is taken hostage briefly, and we go, oh yeah, he wants to protect this thing. This thing can't protect itself. There are situations in which the baby can be utilized to this aim, and it makes for a very, very good little scene. I was a little confused as to when the guy was like, okay, here's the baby, I'm taking your jetpack. I'm like, dude, you better run faster than that. He's just gonna... And of course, the little gag with the jetpack taking off. But a great little establishing opening that has him then stumbling his way back to Tatooine and meeting up with, what's her name, Amy Sedaris in the bar. Amy Sedaris is playing cards with, I love this, Dr. Mandible. One thing I've said about this show, I love the rubber costumes. I love the almost campiness of it. You can't take Star Wars too seriously. It's a 70s science fiction fantasy, okay? There's guys in rubber masks. There's a bar with a giant ant playing cards. It's funny. It's interesting. And it works. And I think calling the guy Dr. Mandible, which is the most ridiculous name, you're like, yeah, okay. They understand. They know what's going on. So Dr. Mandible, Mando, again, is on his quest to find more Mandalorians. We're going to see if this quest ever starts to really make sense, because it's just him stumbling around and kind of getting lucky. What are the odds that, you come into the bar and this giant ant person knows where to find Mandalorians? Okay, whatever. Little Deus Ex Machina there, but sure. So this Dr. Mandible, he luckily has some weird quest for the Mando, where he tells him, look, you take this lady to her planet. Her husband knows a lot about Mandalorians. Okay, fine. And little twist that it is a frog lady. And again, I love this costume. I assume this is a rubber costume, and maybe they do a little CG for the eyes or whatever. It looks good. It feels more real than some of the CG monstrosities we have seen in other Star Wars movies. I'm glad they're using practical effects. Anyway, he has to transport her eggs, so he can't travel at light speed. A little bit of a hinge there. I accept it. Fine. Little twist on the episode. He's got to travel at normal spaceship speed in order to get to her planet. Now, one thing I had to check after I watched the episode was to go back and see, okay, what is the deal with the eggs? And the eggs are unfertilized. They have not been, they have not had the male member of the species insert his DNA into them, or whatever you want to say, which is good, because the recurring joke of the episode is that Baby Yoda keeps eating these eggs. At first, I saw him going to the tank and putting his hand up to it. I'm like, oh, because, he's in tune with the Force and he can sense the life force of the eggs. Oh, that's very cute that he, can sense this unborn life. And then it has him eat the egg, and I'm like, oh no, I misread that situation entirely. Thankfully, and a lot of people online are like leaving comments like, why is the Baby Yoda, basically committing, they're calling it abortion or murder or whatever else. They're not fertilized yet. But to be fair, it is apparently the last of her eggs. So each one that he eats is one less chance that her lineage goes on.
No.
It is a little dark, it is a little weird, but I like this. As another commenter or reviewer, I forget who it was, brought up, it's good that the Baby Yoda isn't just being treated as this beautiful, perfect star child. It's a weird alien thing. Yes, it's cute, but it also just eats whatever it can find. It's probably going to cause some more trouble in the future. That's good. And again, that's another angle for the Baby Yoda to take, is that maybe it is imperfect. Maybe it is going to get into more trouble as time goes on. Do things that, conflict with what the Mandalorian wants. I'm just glad that they're using the character, that he's there doing something. Again, in the previous episode, all you do is you cut to him to go, oh, and raise his eyes or hide in a pod or whatever else. Now he has a small role in the story, even if it is just to have his life in danger, and we must protect the Baby Yoda or whatever else he's causing mischief. It works. It adds something to the episode. So now my favorite part of the episode is here. They're traveling to this planet when all of a sudden they get flanked by 2 X-Wings. And what's interesting about this, it's 2 New Republic pilots who basically are, running his tags. They're 2 police officers, basically. And I love this. Because probably what the most interesting thing here is, I loved the original trilogy, and after the original trilogy, you always wondered, well, I wonder what happens after you blow up the Death Star. Like, what happens in the aftermath of that? And we're slowly finding out, okay, the New Republic has taken control. You're going to have to do basic police work to try and find old Empire holdouts and run their tags.
We notice your transponder is not emitting.
Yes, I'm pre-Empire surplus. I'm not required to run a beacon.
That was before. This sector is under New Republic jurisdiction. All craft are required to run a beacon.
Maybe it's boring to other people, but to me, the bureaucracy of this new government of we got to go around and, we have checkpoints set up and we're trying to restore order. Just seeing that for some reason, I was like, oh, this feels like a universe. It just feels like this universe has rules and laws and factions, and I like exploring all of that. And they run his ship's ID or whatever it is, And I love the meticulousness of it. And, oh, can you send us a ping? And you're like, oh, that's how they verify spaceships. I don't know. I find all that little tiny details very interesting. And also just the way it's played. The acting in it, I feel the tension of, you got two cops roll up on you. You're in a vehicle that you know was seen at the scene of a crime. And you're like, oh, just play it cool.
Transmitting now.
Be quiet. What's that?
Nothing. The hypervac is drawing off the exhaust manifold.
I felt like I was at a traffic stop with the Mandalorian. It was hilarious. Of course, that it comes back that he was seen at that prison transport in the last episode, or the last season when they tried to do a prison break, and a great chase sequence.
You got a runner. I'm on it.
That's another thing. Another reason I like this episode. The action to me just felt better. Better executed, better edited, more interesting to look at. I love the idea that the New Republic, again, are the good guys. They're not the Empire. I get the feeling if he was being chased by the Empire, they would have just shot his ship down and been like, dealt with that. But this is the New Republic. They have real rules. They're telling him, stop, don't make us do this. just let us take you in. I was like, this is great.
Come on, Razorcrest. Don't make us do it.
I love the dynamic here of like, these are actual good police officers who don't just want to, murder this guy. They want to take him in. They're like, please, let's, yeah, you did a bad thing. Let's just settle this. I don't know, something about it. And then seeing the ship skidding along the ice, or he pulls the engine to drop it out of the air. It just looked better to me. The last episode, I don't know, nothing about the crate dragon felt interesting to me. It felt cheap. It didn't look good. I felt the special effects of this episode, like if I saw them in a Hollywood movie, I would be very impressed. Anyway, of course, the ship gets wrecked. And again, I don't know what it is about the acting in this episode, but I felt the tension. I'm like, when you're in a cave with a broken spaceship, I'm like, he's screwed. For some reason, I didn't feel the plot armor you normally feel in these shows, where you're like, oh, it's the Mando, he'll be fine. I'm like, I don't know how he gets out of this one. I mean, I guess we do find out you can repair an entire ship with one toolbox. All right, that's a bit of a stretch. Kind of looked like that thing was broken beyond repair and leaking every essential fluid. But still, there was that sense of tension. I very much enjoyed that. Again, I think the last episode just didn't work because I just did not... The Marshall character was uninteresting to me. And the Tusken Raider villager conflict felt tacked on. This is a very clean episode that, even though it doesn't get into any deep moments, it just is kind of a Monster of the Week episode. It works just because of how clean and well executed it is. There's no nonsense. As we see, the big fun of the episode is they go into a cave. Spooky cave. And I was mad at Twitter. Twitter, what are you doing? Because I was on Twitter, and in the sidebar, it's like trending. The new Mandalorian episode is not going to be, good for people who are afraid of spiders. I'm like, don't spoil what the monster's going to be on the sidebar of my Twitter. That I was not happy about. But anyway, they go into a cave. God, this reveal would have been... I feel like it's stupid, but I would have liked to not know that spiders were coming. Because I feel like this was very well done. Where you see all these little pods... And you're like, what the hell? Oh, don't touch those. Of course, Baby Yoda. Again, Baby Yoda is doing something in the episode. Wanders off and is apparently, possibly responsible for triggering these spiders to all leave their eggs, because he goes in, just starts snacking on one. And the spiders come out. I'm watching the scene. The second the little baby spiders start coming up, I'm like, just run, just go. Stop looking at the cave where the spiders are coming out. But Mando's just standing there. He's like, all right, we'll just be very careful about this. I'm like, no, dude, go. Because then this giant, again, the special effects look great. This giant ass spider with crazy teeth is chasing them. I don't know what it is about the animation here. I don't know how they've gotten it to look so practical. I get the feeling that like other shows or other movies or whatever, the CG is too clean. It's too perfect. Whereas here, you kind of get the feeling these little spider guys are like little puppets or something. Just the way they move is like a little... It's not perfect. It's natural. I don't know. Something about it, though, I loved it. I loved the spiders. And I was all excited. I'm like, man, this would be the best video game to be running through this stupid ice cave, shooting at spiders. I don't know. Maybe I'm an idiot that I'm getting all excited about the Mando just playing shooting gallery with these spiders. I'm like, yeah, murder them all, man. I guess I just love killing spiders. Gets back to the ship. Again, more fantastic. I love the spider killing when he got his arm trapped. I'm like, well, I don't know why this whole episode I was really convinced that the Mando was not going to make it out of this situation. Because when he got his hand trapped, I'm like, it's done. It's over. This is the episode where the Mandalorian dies. Obviously, he escapes, gets in, he's torching all the spiders. Spider gets on the baby's head. Everything about this was so well executed. I don't know what it is. And then they have the spaceship taking off. And it's so perfect because they do the music. No, you lose. You lose. The giant spider has trapped you. You're all going to die. And then the New Republic saves him. I love the New Republic, guys. I honestly wish that one of them had gotten trapped in the cave with him. I want to learn more about the New Republic. You know, if it was him and Dave Filoni hanging out for an episode, I'd be into it. I did get a little confused. This was one part I thought was not perfectly executed. It's fine that the guys save him. Their explanation afterwards for why they're not going to arrest him anymore, they're like, oh, well, you broke into one of our transports, one of our prison transports. But I guess also because didn't he leave a bunch of the criminals behind to get arrested? And they're like, so you're good because you did that.
Onboard security records show that you apprehended 3 priority culprits from the wanted register. Security records also show that you put your own life in harm's way to try to protect that of Lieutenant Davin from the New Republic Correctional Corps.
I don't know, man. If you break into prison and leave some extra prisoners there, it's still, I mean, they were like, oh, it's a new time, you know, things have changed. And they also said that he tried to save a guy. I think it was the guy on the bridge. He tried to save his life in that episode. I just think that scene would have made a lot more sense if they had made it personal. If he said, like, that was my brother you tried to save or something. Because I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't think some cops are going to let a wanted criminal who breaks into prison transports go because, oh, well, you know, you did some nice stuff while you were there. It was a little weird. I also needed a throwaway line from the New Republic when he's like, can you help me fix my ship? And then they just nope out of there. I'm like, I need a line from them, like toss him a gas can and be like, here's a can of gas, you'll be fine. Because when they left, I'm like, how do they know they're not just leaving him to die in an ice cave? This seems very callous of these police officers. Like, hey, my ship is broken. I don't want to die here in this cave. You'll be fine. And they just leave. I'm like, are they going to check in on him in a day to make sure he actually got out? Anyway, he escapes from the cave. They're now just in this hobbled together. I mean, they're stuck in the cockpit because it's the only thing that's airtight. And they're hobbling along to the Frog Lady's planet. And we're going to see what happens. And I'm interested again to see, are they going to maintain this thing where each episode directly leads to the next one? Does the next episode open with them sleeping in the cabin and on to the next thing? I don't know, I'm intrigued. Let's put it that way. I still don't understand how you can end the last season being like, this guy's got the dark lightsaber, the Jedi are going to start showing up. I guess people were telling me Boba Fett is the guy who shows up at the end of the last episode. I'm like, that's a lot of story hooks that you're setting up. What are you doing in these first 2 episodes? It's like, we're not talking about any of that stuff. What's going on in this episode? He fights a spider. And you're like, what's going on with the Jedi and everything? We got no time for that today. We'll do it next week. I mean, if the show has time to cover it, to do both, great. I don't know. Have they announced how many? I'm sure they've announced somewhere how many episodes the season's supposed to be. I don't know how they're going to get to any actual plot if he's just fighting monsters every episode. But I will say, if they're going to do more monster fighting episodes, this was a good example of how to do them. I think this episode was just well executed. It was interesting. It was a one-off adventure. It wasn't weighed down again with this nonsense about, the Tusken Raiders and the townspeople don't like each other. We're going to try and express that plot in about one scene and then forget about it. It wasn't weighed down by any nonsense. Everything was very concise. Another thing about this episode is it's short. It's shorter than the other ones. I think I checked. It's 35 minutes, and I think the first episode was like 45. I did not realize that the episodes have different lengths, which is fine. Okay, yeah, some stories take longer to tell than others. This one, obviously, you didn't weigh it out. You didn't weigh this story down with anything boring. This episode was exciting to me from front to back. See, I don't always hate The Mandalorian. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not good, sometimes it's in the middle. Depends on the episode. I have hope for this show. It seems like it's in good hands. Let's hope it just keeps getting better. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching my video. Hey, did you subscribe? Did you not subscribe? Oh, you gotta subscribe, buddy. What are you doing? There's a button. You click a button. and you make this guy right here, you make him a happy boy. We got more cool videos coming soon. Take care of yourself, and what did you think of the episode? Let me know in the comments. Please tell me you like me again. Please, I lost like 500 subscribers. It's fine, I understand. Have fun.